This segment is brought to you by AJ Fernandez. The San Latano line of cigars by AJ Fernandez has been one of the most talked about cigars in recent years, and now they offer a groundbreaking new line extension, the San Latano Bull. The San Latano Bull features an extensively aged and hearty core of Nicaraguan long fillers nestled beneath an attractive Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. Housed in a cedar sleeve which depicts the outline of a bull only solidifies this cigar as a full-flavored cigar. Removing the sleeve reveals a box-pressed cigar with a beautiful oily and smooth chocolate brown wrapper. The San Latano Bull burns nice and neat as it issues columns of smoke while it hits you with a wall of spice followed by leather and cedar. This densely packed cigar intensifies in deep, rich flavors and becomes a flavor bomb halfway through and only gets better with each passing draw. Strong, yet smooth and perfectly balanced, AJ Fernandez, who many have called the tobacco prodigy, has somehow pushed the already spectacular San Latano line of cigars forward with the Bull. AJ Fernandez challenges you to take on the Bull. Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. We're here to talk about our Stogies of the week. Of course, my co-host Will Cooper's here on the lines via Skype from North Carolina. And all the way across the pond and then some is Mr. Dave Burke from the Cigar Jukebox podcast from Australia. Dave, how are you?
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me on. It's great. I'm excited to do a bit of Stogies of the week.
Excellent. This is your second appearance on the Stogie Geek Show.
It is.
And, of course, Dave is doesn't have an Australian accent, but lives in Australia. For those who might be confused about that, go back and listen to the previous episode where Dave is on. We talk about all how Dave came to be in Australia and all things, basically cigar laws and rights in Australia, which is an awesome segment that Dave did for us on the show. So. And, of course, we're all big fans of the Cigar Jukebox podcast, Dave. So,
Dave, you've been hitting it out of the park. You've had some major guests.
You've had some great guests on lately.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Will Cooper on. You had Paul Asadorian on. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Oh, yeah, that's right. After having Will and Paul on, it's all downhill. No one can live up to that. Well, in the chat room right now is Catfish from What Embargo, and I had both of those guys on. Having a talk,
and you got out of that alive.
Nice.
I did.
Awesome.
Catfish is on my side. I'm on Catfish's side though, with the not being a big fan of the Partagas Serie D number 4 because I just had one. So.
Boo.
Oh, that's a good cigar.
I love that cigar.
But no, so I had those guys on. Skip on. John Huber on recently. I'm having Enrique Sanchez from 1502 on tomorrow morning.
Nice.
So it's good.
Will, why don't you start us off with some Stogies of the week?
I'm just going to mention what I'm drinking first.
Yeah.
Because I am drinking something very interesting. I'm drinking a cup of coffee. Can you guys see the camera okay?
I can see your coffee. It's beautiful.
I'm drinking, and this is a local roast that was done in Greensboro, North Carolina. And it is a...
Nah, wait a minute, Will. We know in North Carolina they say Greensboro.
I'm New York. I'm Brooklyn.
You are. You picked up none of that accent in North Carolina.
We'll never do. No, I respect the accent down here, but I can't get rid of my Tony Manero Brooklyn accent.
Yeah, I know. We wouldn't have it any other way.
That's right. I'm drinking a blend that they did for Don Pepin, the El Rey de los Habanos blend. It's a medium roast blend that they did. Really good blend that you can get at the Pipe and Pint. They actually supplied this. I'm going to send some up to you as well. Great coffee. It's kind of a medium body coffee. It's got a little bit of a nutty flavor to it. It actually pairs well with some of the Pepin cigars. Really nice. So that spice kind of goes real well with it. So excellent coffee, and they did it exclusively for the El Rey de los Habanos, which is exclusive now to their store.
Very cool.
But getting into Stogies of the week, my first one is I had a real, and we kind of talked about it a little in the last segment. I'll go into a little more depth. I smoked the La Aurora Preferidos Diamond in the Corona Especials size. That's the 5.5 by 52 of that blend. So I think we mentioned earlier how all the Preferidos blends are available in Corona, and they're going to be available through Havana Cigar Club at the seminar, and I believe after the seminar, if there's any left. If you don't know this blend, it's one of my favorite La Aurora blends, and I think La Aurora, when it comes to Maduros, is at the top of the game as far as the Dominican goes. Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, they put that Dominican Maduro binder in there, and a mix of Dominican filler. And I mentioned this cigar is a little firebomb. It's not a spice bomb. I mean, it's got some spice in it. You're going to get some nice, peppers as far as that goes. But the spice doesn't come in really to the end of that cigar, and it kicks in real nice. You're going to get those classic diamond notes of the black coffee, a little bit of chocolate, earth, and you'll get this nice cedar note. I will say, I do like the tapering of the Preferido size better. I think it does a few different things as far as the flavor nuances there. But this is a very good size of the cigar. And if you like the Preferido size, you're really going to like this size as well. Definitely worth checking out. It's not I mentioned it's not an easy cigar to get. So we do have access to Stogie Geeks to help you get that. It's a box split in my book. And maybe over a little more time, because I smoked it as soon as I got it, it could be box worthy.
Very cool.
I can't wait till you smoke that.
Sorry, yeah, I'm trying to verify what I smoked, and maybe Dave, you can help me out. The H. Upmann Magnum 46s.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now the older ones, the kind of vintage ones, that are like from 05, they came in these. I got a 15 count. So it was boxes of 3 cigars, so 5 boxes of 3 cigars, and they were vintage from 05, H. Upmann Magnum 46s, right? That's what they were. I'm trying to look on the internet and see what I ordered, and that does look like what they were. I just wanted to make sure I verified that. I don't remember which month I got, but they're on a particular website that someone sent them to me, kind of thing. And I acquired them, and my friend was here in the office/studio all day, and we were smoking cigars. And he enjoys cigars. He's not like a Stogie geek like us. And I wanted his last cigar of the day or night tonight to be something special. So I had a couple of these in my travel humidor. I'm like, dude, smoke this. And
are they the brown band ones?
They are the brown band ones. Thank you, because the newer bands are different.
One of them.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark Jr. gave me one of them when I was up there.
Yes.
I did cover that. I can't wait to hear. I love that cigar.
They're awesome, right?
Yeah.
Now I've had some construction problems with them, which Paul syndrome. It's to be expected. Sometimes I will take like a pack of 3 of them, just in case, and to find the one that out of the 3 that will smoke for me because I have Paul syndrome. So construction's not too hot on these. So I gave my friend one of these, and he's smoking a mixed bag. I mean, he smoked a Fuente today. I think he might have smoked yesterday. He was here too. He might have smoked a New World. He might have smoked an Oktoberfest. So we smoked like a mixed bag, and I gave him this one, and he was like 3/4 of the way through it. I'm like, so dude, like, how does that compare to some of the other stuff you smoked? I'm like, it's different, right? He's like, yeah, this is a totally different experience. He's like, thank you very much. He's like, this was a really, really special smoke. So I had one of these earlier, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Highly recommended. Great smoke. Dave, have you smoked this one before? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I smoked the 46. I like the 46. I like it as an introductory to Cuban cigar for people. A couple friends of mine up here that haven't had a Cuban cigar really like that, and I like the 48 as well. Yeah, the Magnum 48 from I think 2009.
I agree with you, Dave. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of strength. Let's put it maybe in the mild to medium range of that cigar, and it's real. And the flavors aren't too heavy on the palate. It's a real nice. I would say it is a perfect introductory Cuban cigar to really get a good quality Habano there.
It's a great Fatola and ring gauge as well. I think it's not too thick, and it's not like a big Churchill or anything. It's a really good size.
Yep,
absolutely.
It's a classic Corona Gorda size. I mean, for all practical purposes. In fact, it is. It's 5 1/8 by 46.
So, Dave, what else have you been smoking, buddy?
Well, interesting, because you were talking about the Australian regulations and stuff before. And because of that, when I was on before, we talked about how we don't get a whole lot of boutique lines out here in Australia. However, what we just got in at a place where I get cigars for the show called Cigar Hut here in Australia is we just got Warped. Warped cigars just came in like a week ago. So the first cigar I was going to start out with was I had the El Oso, the Papa, which is a 6x48 Bellicoso. So it's Ecuador Habano Oscuro wrapper, Ecuador binder, Nicaraguan and Dominican filler. And I love this cigar. This cigar I found because with the Warped cigars that I've had, construction's been really, really good. The draw and burn on these cigars is excellent. Lots of smoke. It has a little bit of like a rich taste, a little bit of creaminess, a little bit of a good tobacco flavor, a little bit of a salty taste that you get in some of the cigars like the Cro-Magnon, and a little bit in that blend. Not as intense as that blend, I don't think, but transitioned really well balanced. I mean, I read that they only make about 150 of these a day, and just the craftsmanship into it was great. It's just a great cigar, and I want it. I have the Cub, which is the short, like a half Corona size of the blend that I'm really excited to try. But it was a great cigar.
You know what I'm discovering, Dave, is with Warped, and they're rising. They have really taken off. It's kind of like Padron in a way. Not that I'm comparing it to Padron, but people like either that 64 or that 26, and there's kind of like this debate, or they like Maduro Natural. I'm finding the El Oso versus the La Colmena, it's kind of like there's two schools. I admit I'm more on the La Colmena side. Nothing taken away from the El Oso, but I'm finding it's an interesting debate with this little company going on with the two blends right now.
Well, I'm more on the El Oso because I had the La Colmena as well. Now, granted, I've only had one of each, so I think to really get a good sense is to really have more, which I don't mind doing. But no, it's good. A great final third on this cigar as well. Just like the La Colmena, like, because some cigars, I mean, I don't know if you guys find this, I'll be interested to hear what you think, but some cigars that I've had out here, sort of you get to that final third and the cigar really sort of peters out, like it gets bitter or it just like kind of falls apart. And both of these cigars, the La Colmena and the El Oso, not only do they stay together really well, but they transition into more depth of flavor in that final third, and I really appreciate that.
Cool. I want to just talk about the H. Ubben Magnum 46 and what I paired it with, Will and Dave.
Yep.
Just we like to do pairings on the show, and we'll talk about coffee. So really quick, I want to talk about a drink called the Sazerac. I visited New Orleans, where this drink originated earlier this year. It was actually my third trip to New Orleans. I went there with my wife this year. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend everyone visit New Orleans at least once in their lifetime. This drink was originally made with cognac. However, I much prefer it with rye whiskey. And in fact, it went through a period in the 19th century where rye whiskey was substituted because cognac was hard to come by. I tend to prefer it with rye whiskey. And in fact, in New Orleans today, a lot of places do make it with rye whiskey. It's primarily 3 to 2 parts or ounces of rye whiskey. And the other ingredient is absinthe, which is kind of interesting. So the way you make the cocktail, and I actually bought some absinthe liqueur. It's a lower price. It's not true absinthe, but it's a lower priced absinthe for the studio here. And you actually just take the absinthe, maybe even a little ice, and just kind of swirl it in a glass, and then you discard it. So you just kind of coat the glass in the absinthe. It sounds like a really weird thing to put in a cocktail, but that's what you do. And then you do a combination of sugar and 3 dashes of Peychaud's bitters, which is a different kind of bitters. It's very red in color, has a little bit more sweetness than your average bitters, in my opinion. And you garnish with a lemon peel, put the rye whiskey in, and it's, to me, a very difficult drink to pair with a cigar. I would say it's kind of on the higher difficulty rating scale to pair with a cigar, as it has a lot of that acidic quality, which tends to impede on your ability to pick out flavors in your cigar. So be very careful which cigars you pair this with. I would say choose something a little spicier maybe, I also find I know it's going to sound weird, very strange, but something like an IPA that has a bitter component, or this particular drink that you kind of garnish with a lemon and it's got some bitters in it, tends to pick up that kind of sour component or that bitter component that an IPA beer will pick up on. Pair it with a Connecticut. You might be pleasantly surprised. I was pairing it with my Magnum 46. It was okay. I think having that real absinthe, and there's a lot of different places that will substitute absinthe with some other kind of liqueur or ingredient, and I've tried those, and I tell you what, having even the kind of lower priced absinthe made a huge difference. It actually made it a lot smoother, and it was a decent pairing with the H-Up and Magnum 46. Although I would tend to pair this more with a Connecticut. So Sazerac is a really, really cool drink. If you're out at a restaurant, cocktail, a nice place, and they have that on the menu, or you want to order one, it's I would say if you're at a good bar and they make good drinks, try the Sazerac. Let's see, Will, why don't we go back to you?
Okay, I had a real good opportunity this week. As folks may have heard, Cigar Federation got an exclusive cigar from Crowned Heads called the Buckingham. And Logan was very kind to send me some samples of that to try it. He wanted my opinion on that. And this is a cigar that they did. It's a 6x46. The ring gauge looked a little bigger than a 46, to be honest with you. But I'm just going to trust it's just maybe my eyesight going. But it's a San Andreas Maduro over Nicaraguan binder and filler coming out of my father. And they did a run of 2,000 cigars for Cigar Federation, which I believe they sold out. And I don't know if Logan's going to be getting more of these or not. I found this to be a very different Crowned Heads cigar than any Crowned Heads I had. It's not a Jericho Hill on steroids by any means, but it's a much stronger, bolder blend to come out of. It's from my father, but in terms of they've had several releases this year from my father, but this is definitely the strongest one I had. It's overall, I thought it was a real good cigar. It's got notes of mocha, pepper, and a little bit of this grapefruit sweetness in it. But the grapefruit sweetness, a couple of times it got sour, but most of the time it was more of a sweetness. So I think it helped. It's one of these cigars that and we've talked about that, if you really sit and smoke it, that mocha kind of can be divided up into a lot of different variations. Sometimes you'll get a little of that espresso flavor. Sometimes you'll get more of a cocoa powder, and sometimes you'll get more of a sweet chocolate. So it's a little more complex than maybe I originally, after my first smoke, I had. But it was a good cigar, and especially, like I said, it's full body, so you're definitely going to get a lot of flavor. It starts out medium to full in strength, and there was a nice nicotine kick at the end of this cigar. I thought it was a nice release by Crowned Heads. I think it's going to be very different than what people expected. I have it as a $5 right now. I think folks will enjoy this cigar. It's priced at $7.95 too. So definitely. Hopefully, if folks ordered it, I can't wait to hear them try it, and hopefully Logan will be getting more of those in.
Very cool. I went back to a more traditional cigar, Will and Dave. In this one's it's a little hard to find. There's actually kind of a funny story. This particular cigar, if you watched our 3-year anniversary show, we had Jana from the Humidor, and we were joking about how I would go in and buy some of the special rare Fuente cigars and Davidoff cigars, and other people I would talk about them in the lounges, and other people would go in, and Jana would say, well, Paul bought all of them. This is one of the ones I did that with. And there was one particular year, 2 or 3 years ago, and when they came out, they were just fantastic. They were awesome. And I bought the whole rest of the box, and my friends were really mad, and I had to give them some and hand them out to kind of smooth things over with them, because they had gone and bought singles, and then they went back to the store, and then Janice like, well, Paul bought the rest of them. So they wanted to throw things at me, which it's just, that's just commonplace here in Rhode Island, because it's so small and there's so many shops right around the corner. In any case, they came out again this year, and I purchased a $5 of them this year because I wanted to see fresh what they tasted like. And this is the Arturo Fuente Hemingway Untold Story Maduro. So this is the size just down from the, is it the Masterpiece? Is that the big one? May I get that right? I think I got
I
that
just
right.
picked one of them up, but I think it was the Masterpiece I picked up.
Masterpiece is like the 9x52. It's gigantic.
No, this is small. Okay, this is smaller than the 9x52, but I just picked one.
Untold Story. Yep, Untold
Is it
Story.
like a 7? Is it like
Yep.
7?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just got one of those from Pipe and Pint this past weekend.
Yeah. So now what's interesting was that, the rest of the box that I had bought, I have been smoking those kind of intermittently over time as they age. And I find they don't age very well, in my opinion. People may differ in their opinions, and maybe different years age differently, but I really wasn't impressed with the way they had aged. So I picked up 5 of these fresh, and I smoked one. And I have to say, like, especially through the first third, there's this, like, wonderful cedar component coupled with some sweetness even in the first third that is just so awesome with this cigar. I mean, it really, almost as soon as you light it up, it really comes to life and presents these awesome, awesome flavors and continues to get good. Now, it makes this transition into more of like a cocoa almost, so that Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, kind of intensifies in flavor and changes, and that change and that contrast in transition is very, very nice. I enjoy the first third a lot. I would call this a box split in my book. Again, I was kind of disappointed in the way that they aged, but smoking them fresh is what I would recommend. And I'm going to try and smoke through mine as soon as I can, because I really, really like smoking these fresh.
Like I said, I believe I picked up that same cigar Saturday. I haven't smoked it, so now I got to smoke it. It's interesting.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's the same cigar I got.
Smoke it now, and then if I think of it, I'll send you some of the ones that I've had aging in my humidor, and I'll get your opinion on that as well. There's very, very different after it ages. So
yeah.
And of course, the Hemingway Maduro blends are always kind of a little more difficult to find. They've been easier to find recently. I really, really like the Hemingway in the Maduro wrapper. It's really, really good in all the sizes. I don't know if I could pick a favorite, it might be the short story, the smallest one in that line.
Mm.
Yeah, it was funny when I went out to Pipe and Pint, and basically he started showing me all his cigars. I just kept putting them in my basket to take out, and that he shows me that, oh yeah, you got the Hemingway Maduros, which you cannot find in Charlotte. I can tell you that. So
yeah,
I was excited about that. So I will have a report on that for sure.
Now, Dave, have you had the opportunity to smoke some Hemingway Maduros?
No, I have had the short story. They have that here, and I really enjoy that. But no, I'd have to look. We carry like hit and miss of certain lines. So
yeah, the Masterpiece is gigantic, and that's another one that I would say goes through different periods of aging. I think they're good when they first come out. I think if you let them age and they get like a little bit of plume on them, they're good, but then they tend to age out after that. So there's some kind of like magical formula for that blend where the aging is kind of weird. It can work out at certain times, so it's difficult. So be careful if you buy a box. Make sure you kind of go back and keep smoking those, and when they're good, keep smoking them, because they do tend to age out. Dave, what else you been smoking?
Well, it's funny. Last time I was on the show, I talked about how I haven't had any Tatuaje because they don't carry that cigar here. And lo and behold, a listener, Brett Smith, sent me 12 of them in the mail.
Ooh.
So that was very nice. So if anyone's listening, I also don't have any diamonds or $1 million. So if you want to send that in the mail as well, go ahead.
Although you may need to pay that on your excise tax.
That's right.
That's right. Oh, he was from Australia, so that was good.
Oh, good.
That was all good.
That's great.
But he sent, along with a lot of other stuff, and I'll need your help with some of this cigar. He sent in, and what I had was a Tatuaje Tobacco Plaza Double D.
Oh,
but it was
that's that big Bellicoso?
Yeah, it was the wet pack from the spring of 2012. 2012.
Oh boy.
Was that
That's
a direct
special
direct release for a retailer?
Yeah, Tobacco Plaza.
Yeah,
It's up in
Tobacco
New York.
Plaza. Yeah.
Okay.
Which my dad
Now,
lives about
I
15
don't
minutes
know.
from there and never picks them up for me. But
Well-
that's another story.
Now, just before I get into the cigar, from my understanding, and Paul and Will, you guys can help me out because I'm new to the whole wet pack thing. That, from my understanding, it was they had 2 releases of this cigar. The wet pack was in spring of 2012, where instead of aging it in the room, they packed it in foil and put it right in the box. Now, can you guys tell me, is that right, or what's the deal with being a wet pack cigar? Like, why do they do that? Do you guys know that?
I can take that one.
Go ahead, Will.
It's the process is pretty much exactly what you said. It tends to just deliver a different flavor component as it starts with that wet pack. So they put it in the foil and it's aging in there as opposed to aging in the room. And it's supposedly it will deliver. And I've had those, and it will deliver impart a different profile.
It will. I agree with that.
Pete's done it with some other releases as well.
Okay. No, I just I was a bit unclear from what I read, like what the difference was. But thanks for that. Now I got to give a thanks to Brett Smith, who sent me this along with, some monsters and things like that. But this cigar, honestly, within the first 2 puffs, is one of the best cigars I've ever had in my life. This cigar was amazing. It's a 6 1/4 by 58 Connecticut broadleaf Maduro wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler. And I think it was from 2012.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It just had such an amazing sweetness. It sort of had this sweet coffee taste with a really rich tobacco. The burn and draw on it were just perfect. And it had a very good, very layered finish. So it kind of had some sweetness and coffee sort of up front with some more spice and pepper out at the tail end of the finish. And maybe because it was aged, the spice and pepper wasn't as dialed up as it might be when it's younger. But very smooth, very rich. It had even like a slight cinnamon spice to it. It was just incredible. I mean, the richness, the rich texture of it, and the construction was just unbelievable. I mean, I would buy this cigar at any time, anywhere. Like if I didn't have money in the cigar store, I would start selling things that I had on me in order to get enough money to buy the cigar. This cigar was incredible. So thank you, Brett Smith, for such a wonderful cigar.
That's like a new rating, Dave. It's like I'd pawn my wedding ring to smoke this cigar.
I would. Like if I was in
that's
a store
like a whole new rating.
and they had them, I would just start selling stuff. I'd just give them my watch. Like, here's this. How much more do I need? I'd start sweeping floors, whatever. This cigar is amazing.
It was unbanded, correct?
Yeah, it was unbanded. I think they banded
the dry ones,
the previous release, which was the dry one. So yeah, this was unbanded.
Now with that cigar, it's a Bellicoso.
Yep.
In my opinion, that was one of the best designed Bellicosos I ever had. And for it's not like you're smoking a 58 ring gauge. That's what's so great about that cigar. Because the way he designed the way that Bellicoso almost tapered like a chocolate chip, and it's like. And I've smoked several of these, and I've smoked more of the dry ones than the wet ones, but it is fantastic. I can't agree with you more. It's a great cigar. And I put the wet pack one ahead of the dry one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it smoked. I mean, to your point, it smoked more like like a 48 or something. It smoked really well, like the draw and the burn. Because the other thing, there was no real buildup in the cigar either. Like what I find with some Toros that are big ring gauges. They'll get that build up near the end. The end will get really harsh, and the burn will get all weird. This one, I didn't have to touch it. It was perfect all the way through. Smoked really even. The draw was perfect. That's the closed foot on it. Worked really well when it opened up. It opened up really nicely. It was just a fantastic cigar.
I agree. I really love that cigar.
So if you're listening, Cigar Jukebox, send me a tweet. Send me as many as you want. I'll take them all.
Yeah, and just for Paul's, and I don't know if you guys are aware, the person who owns that store is Ariel Ditkowitz's father.
Oh, okay.
Danny.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called the Double Date. The Danny Ditkowitz. So it's her father's store who got that.
I went back and smoked something that I wasn't a huge fan of out of the gate, and I try not to. Here's the situation. Like, I'll smoke one of them, and I'm not kind of a big fan. But others in the cigar community and on the show and friends of the show will be like, well, I smoked this and I really liked it. And I'm like, I must have missed the boat or something. Something wasn't right. I got to go back and smoke another one. Illusione released that new line, the Fume de Amor. Did I say that right?
Oh, I love that line.
I smoked the Robusto size today, Will, and I got it, right? Like, this could very well be a box purchase for me. It had this wonderful, like, caramel and kind of wood notes all throughout the cigar. It didn't change up a whole lot throughout the cigar, but I was like, wow, I am completely blown away by this cigar. And the first one I smoked, I didn't really like. And I
remember
think
that.
it's because,
that. We were talking
and
about
I think it's because they just came into the store or whatever, and they just needed a couple of weeks to settle out. So I dry boxed it. Well, I put it in my travel humidor. I went back and smoked it today, and I was like, wow, this cigar is absolutely fantastic. What was I thinking the first time through? So we like to do that here in the Stogie Geeks. We like to go revisit things and give everything a fair shake. I can't say I do that with every single cigar that I smoke, but there are some that fall into that category that end up on my list of, I smoked it at first. I recognize some potential. I may not have liked it, but I recognize some potential, whatever that means. It's kind of like a gut feeling. And then that, kind of supplements with others in the cigar community on the show, friends of the show. Like, Will says he really likes the cigar, and some other friends of mine said they really like the cigar. So I'm like, I got to go back and try it again. And I'm really glad that I did, because I'll be purchasing more of these in the future.
Try the 48, the Clementes.
Okay.
Go smoke that one.
Is that the Corona, Corona or short Corona? Or?
It's the short. It's kind of a 6.5 by 48. It's almost a Churchill size.
Oh, okay.
That was my bell of the ball in the line, but the Robusto was very close second.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That is a absolute home run by Dion. Whatever, and he's not putting Lajero in that blend, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
what he's been able to get with that blend.
Yep. I'm going to talk about another cigar from Illusione too that I really, really liked as well. And Will can probably guess what that is.
I think I can, which I'm waiting to smoke. Waiting to get.
So, Will, back to you.
Keeping with the La Aurora theme, I smoked a cigar, and I think I might have mentioned this on way back on a show, but it's a new release. I smoked way back because I got it from IPCPR, but I smoked now another one of these. It's a cigar by a company called Viva Republica, and it's called the Propaganda, and the size is called a 5.5 Truce because it's a 5.5 by 54. So Viva Republica is a company run by a guy named Jason Holley. He works exclusively with La Aurora to do his blends. So he's got a very tight relationship with the factory. In fact, so much that Miami Cigar, who distributes La Aurora, is now distributing Viva. And Jason Holley's also moonlighting with Miami Cigar as a consultant with some of the blends. But this is his new blend, and it is a very different blend. And the net result is it's a very different La Aurora cigar than I've ever had before. It's got a wrapper which is called a Brazilian Mágico Cubano, which is a Cuban seed wrapper that's kind of this rare seed varietal that La Aurora has been playing with. It's a beautiful Colorado wrapper. He's got a bunch of tobaccos mixed in from Ecuador, the DR, Nicaragua, and Pennsylvania, which is actually where Jason's from. I've smoked this in a 4 by 54, but this 5.5 by 54 now with a little more time on it, fantastic. It is a flavor bomb. It's got notes of coffee, chocolate, cedar, black pepper. There's a little bit of this lemon sweetness at the beginning that turns into more of like a raisin sweetness later on. So there's a lot of complexity with this cigar. There's a lot going on. A lot of times when I get a lot of tobaccos in a cigar, sometimes they just don't meld together. But this one seemed to really gel well. It's a medium to full strength, medium to full bodied cigar. So it's got a little kick, but not too much. I want to make one comment on this cigar, and I have it in my Stogie feed. this band is like really interesting. It's a very loud band, I'll be honest with you. So there's a lot going on it.
They're kind of known for that, yeah.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that I talked to Jason, and he's a great guy. The color scheme of that band, he took from one of his favorite cigars. So he didn't copy the band from this cigar, but he took all the colors from that cigar, and it happens to be the colors from the Opus X. So he just said, I want to use those colors because he wanted to pay homage to the Fuentes. And so it's a red, black, white, and gold band. It's an interesting band. In fact, like I said, a lot going on. The interesting thing is all the countries are listed on that band with the tobaccos I just talked about. But this is a box-worthy cigar. This is very different than anything I've had from La Aurora, and it shows me that cigar, that factory is not one-dimensional. They could do a lot of different things with that factory. Check this cigar out if you can. Excellent cigar.
Very cool. Dave, what else you been smoking?
Well, one of the things, being in Australia, what I love when I listen to the show is Stogies of the Week. So I always write down cigars that you bring up so that I can try them out at some point in time when I can find them. And the next cigar is one that I read about on Will's on Cigar Coop that I'm like, oh, I got to try this cigar. And that's the 601 La Bomba Warhead 2 Maduro.
Oh, I love that cigar.
Yeah, it's a 5.5 by 56. Limited to 2,000 boxes. The wrapper is a Connecticut broadleaf, just so similar. I've had a lot of Connecticut broadleaf this week for some reason. Binder and filler both Nicaraguan. It's just an amazing cigar. I described it to a friend as if you had a piece of chocolate tobacco cheesecake that slapped you in the face. That's sort of like how the cigar was for me, because it had a very great richness. The box press, the draw and burn was really good. Hints of chocolate, hints of spice. It had a little bit of I couldn't tell if it was more of a citrus zing or like a salty zing to it, but there's a little bit of a zing kind of cutting through that richness. A great balance between flavor and strength, but I found that the strength can kind of sneak up on you if you're not careful. So I really like the cigar. So I liked the draw on it, and I was drawing on it kind of really well because I was really into the flavors, and every now and then I kind of have to slow down because the strength would get to me. So you're sort of having to monitor that. But it was a great cigar. I mean, I really like rich, strong cigars like this, the Cro-Magnon, the Cane, Straight Ligero. Like I like those sorts of cigars. So I loved it. I'd get a box of it, and I let this one sit for a couple of months. But yeah, it was great. And it was pretty young, so I can imagine it'd be good aged as well. I mean, Will, what did you think of this cigar?
You nailed it. Okay, that chocolate tobacco cheesecake, and I didn't think of that. You just said, but I've had the Warhead 1, which I love, but that Warhead 2 brought a little bit of a creaminess to that cigar that the Warhead 1 didn't have. It was a little more of a rougher cigar. And it smoothed it out so well in that blend that I agree. I mean, that's probably, I have it as a box-worthy cigar. It was one of the best broadleafs I've had this year. And with a little age on it, it really smoothed out nicely. And you could still find these cigars, which is good. So yeah, I would encourage folks to check that out. It's a really good. I was a little skeptical about them going with that bigger ring gauge with that size, but they whatever they did, it worked real well.
Do you guys know, is this an annual release? So are they going to have like a Warhead 3 next year, or what's the go with that?
There's plans to make it an annual release. So what they're going to do is they're going to keep the blend. This is what they told me at the show. They're going to keep the blend pretty much the same. Maybe they'll tweak it a little, but they're going to do a different Vitola each year. So they are, as far as I know, they are going ahead with a Warhead 3 right now, or 2015 one. So I would expect we'll see one, but I don't think they've talked about the size yet.
Yeah, well, if you, I mean, all I can say is, I guess, if you're a fan of the Cro-Magnon or like a 1502 black and gold, or like a Cane Straight Ligero, I mean, I think you should definitely give the cigar a go, because I think you'll really enjoy it.
We did some of those on the show a while back, Will.
I thought we did the Sake Bomb, which was another blend in that line.
And we interviewed
Eric.
Eric.
Yep, we had him back on in March. Yep.
Yeah. And those were some of the, Dave, I agree, some of the best, stronger cigars on the market. For sure.
It's a really good balance of flavor and strength. So it's not, I mean, what I like about it is that it's not like it's so strong that you're so concentrated on the strength you can't enjoy the cigar. But but there's enough strength there to make the whole experience, like, to really come together well with the flavor. Like, because it's such a deep, rich flavor, having that strength, I think, really offsets it nicely, but one doesn't really overpower the other.
Right. I remember Stogie Santa, when we were smoking the La Bombas, he made a good point saying it doesn't assault the palate, but the strength is there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see. Oh, I smoked, and I'm going to guess on the year of this cigar, because the 2011 and the 2012 are identical in size and I believe identical in shape and the band. The Viaje Late Harvest, I want to say the one that I smoked was from 2012, because I don't believe I purchased these in 2011. I wanted to go back. I was rummaging through my humidor. In fact, I pulled out a bunch of cigars from my humidors at my house, and I stuck them in the humidor here in the studio to free up some space at home, to get some better airflow and make some room, and fill up the humidor here so that it had some more cigars to maintain proper humidity. And then I've got some interesting cigars here in the studio that if I want to dig in and find something interesting, I kind of rummage through these random cigars. And I've got a lot of random Viaje stuff floating around in there. And I picked up this Late Harvest because I remember smoking it when it first came out, and I really liked it, thinking that it needed time. And boy, was I right. I lit this thing up, and it was absolutely – the first two-thirds were fantastic. It was just okay in the final third. But it definitely had this caramel sweetness – with just a touch of spice, very, very well balanced in those first two-thirds. Fantastic flavor. This cigar was all about flavor, especially in that first third. The mouthfeel, the amount of smoke, the draw, the flavor that it left in your palate was fantastic. Loved this cigar. If you can find some of this Viaje Late Harvest, I would definitely say this is a box split kind of cigar. My rating would be higher if that final third was a little better. It kind of got a little harsh in the final third. But I would smoke more just for those first two-thirds because they were so good.
Interesting, yeah.
Is this a limited edition, Paul? Like, is this a small batch or anything? Or
this was a limited edition. I want to say the 2011 run was really small, like a few hundred boxes. They may have upped the production in 2012. And what's interesting is this cigar is a Nicaraguan Puro, and it didn't smoke like a Nicaraguan Puro at all. So
yeah, and Andre in 13 came out with a variation called the Hang Time, which uses higher primings of that. There wasn't a Late Harvest in 2014, so the blend that you had from 2012, he hasn't done since then.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Highly recommended. Will, back to you.
So I actually picked this up when I was up in my travels in Rhode Island. The J Grotto Anniversary P555. The Perfecto, which is the cigar that Phil Zengi has made for Paul Joyle. And it's that Connecticut broadleaf cigar with Dominican Habano binder. And the filler, Paul says, is a mix of Dominican and other Central American tobaccos. So he's kind of holding that close to the vest. It's a 5x55 Perfecto. A lot of things with that. We've talked about this cigar quite a bit. It's, it's Ocean States Cigars, who's our sponsor, First Connecticut Broadleaf. It's definitely the most powerful cigar that's in that line to date. It's first collaboration with Phil and Paul Joyle, who are both sponsors and friends of the show, which is great. And it commemorates Paul Joyle's some family occasions with Paul, his parents' 65th wedding anniversary and his own 30th wedding anniversary. I'm telling you, this line is a great, great line, and it's aging fantastic. The Perfecto is excellent. I'm still partial to the Toro. I think it's the best one in the line, but this one's a close second. Beautiful flavors of cocoa, black pepper. It has an earthy taste. There's some background nut flavors. I found the strength was dialed back from the pre-release I smoked it. So it definitely has come down a bit, but it's still a powerful smoke. But again, one of these cigars is not going to over assault the palate. So you'll get that strength, but you're going to really get a good flavorful experience with that. I think this is clearly Paul Joyle's best work he's done to date. He's done some good work, very good work. So I think this is the best line he's done. It's box worthy. And I've seen a lot of people on social media smoking the J. Grotto anniversaries. So I think there's some traction with this cigar. And it's very different than Phil's Debonair Maduro. It's a completely different cigar is what I'll say.
Very cool. Dave, over to you.
Well, this is a cigar. I had it a couple weeks ago, but since I was on the show with you, Paul, I had to talk about it. And Brett Smith, the same person that sent me that wonderful Tatuaje cigar, also sent me an Opus X Fuente from 2009. I don't have much on the blend. I have, so it's a 5 and a bit by 46. It was really good. It had some flavors I've never had in a cigar before. On the front end, on the first third, it had some pepper and spice on the front end. I said it was a little bit like eating a chili. Like it really had like that kind of tingle on the lips sort of feel to it. Like you know, it would be like eating like a hot meal, I guess, like some sort of chili type meal. Had a good depth, good burn and draw, and then sort of developed into more of like a rich licorice, almost like at points, almost like a dark chocolate mint type flavor to it, which was really interesting, which was really hard for me to kind of describe. But that's the only thing I could think of. It would be sort of like a dark chocolate, but almost like a minty quality. Good rich tobacco, great smoke. Like I said, great burn and draw. Good on the palate. It had good depth. The final third was really good. I found the final third was very complex, which I really liked. Lots of different flavors going on. A bit of a herbal flavor going on at the end, which was really nice and balanced really well. I mean, it's hard to say, like, you know, how many I would get because, you know, here, you know, they're extremely rare. But yeah, I don't know if I could smoke it every day, but just having it every now and then was just amazing. So really kind of is a whole different cigar experience than I've had with other cigars. And I'd be interested to try some more Opus X to see if those flavors are sort of unique to that Fuente cigar, or if that's more indicative of the blend of the line itself, or what. But it was a really good experience, and I'll definitely pick up. You know, I mean, picking up 4 or 5 here would cost, you know, $400, but
wow.
definitely try, because I mean, this cigar here would retail at like $60-$70
for a Opus X Fuente size. That's a Corona size.
Yeah, from 2009. Yeah, it would probably be like $60.
Oh, from 2009. That's
yeah.
A little age on those cigars goes a long way. Although I find you can smoke the Fuente blend even fresh, and they smoke good. It's a great kind of one of the more versatile Opus X cigars that you can again, you can smoke them off the truck, or you can smoke them at different times of the day. They're not overpowering. They're very bold, but I don't find them overly strong compared to some of the other Opus X cigars.
No, I mean, and I don't know. I mean, I guess the other thing I wanted to say is because I mean, I definitely get, you know, 5 to 10 of these if it was available. But the other thing I want to ask is, like, I had that flavor in the second third, which I described as, in my notes, as like a dark chocolate mint. It was really hard for me to place. I mean, do you have that? Am I just way off base on that? Or, I mean, how do you find those?
Yeah, well, you know, and age is going to change that flavor profile. I'd say fresh, especially as you get, you know, past the first third, you're going to get a lot of leather, and that leather component's going to come through a lot. As you age, certainly you get a kind of a variety of spices. I almost get like a cinnamon kind of sweetness with certain Opus X cigars, depending on how long they've aged. So. I wouldn't say you're far off base. I don't know if I've smoked a 5-year-old Fuente. That's one of the wonderful things about Opus X is the way they age is really cool. They definitely present some different flavor profiles. I smoked probably one of the largest cigars I've ever smoked in my life this week. One of the kind of crops of cigars I brought from my humidor at home was like this gigantic handful of really, really big cigars, like cigars that are 8-9 inches or more in length. Because I'm thinking here in the studio, if I smoke during the day, I have time to smoke something like that. At home, it can be kind of difficult to have time to smoke something like that. So I smoked the Tatuaje RC 233.
Oh.
This is 9.125 inches by 55 Salamone. This cigar is gigantic. Like, you can actually, like, hold it like a baseball bat, and you could probably hit something with it. It's gigantic. It's a Nicaraguan Corojo wrapper with Nicaraguan binder and filler. It kind of pays homage to a Cubanesque kind of in fact, that's what the RC stands for, is Retro Cuban. So they make this in an RC 233, and they also make it in a 184, which is a reference in millimeters to the size. So you can get it in a slightly smaller centimeters, rather. Centimeters? Dave, what is it, centimeters or millimeters? Damn it, it's 9 inches.
Millimeter.
That'd be millimeters.
I've moved countries too many times. I don't even know anymore.
233 millimeters and 184 millimeters, right? Someone back me up. Someone Google that. But the 184 is a little smaller. In fact, I do like better. The RC233 is interesting if you read some of the reviews. Like it takes a little bit to get going, to get over the bulb. And once you do that, the flavors are really, really good. And then you get a few more inches in. You almost smoke like 5 inches, like a Robusto out of the thing, and then you kind of grow a little tired of it. Like, it's just a gigantic cigar, and I couldn't finish the whole thing because you just kind of you get a little bored with the 233 because it's just so big. The 184 definitely tweaks the flavor profile, and I find them to be a lot more smokable. And the 184 with some age, you hear me talk about on previous shows, is really awesome. I have not reviewed a 233 on the show, so I thought I would smoke one. And this one was aged a really long time, and it was really good, like I said, but it's still probably not the size that you're looking for. Definitely go with the 184. So I would call this one, if you had 5 in your humidor, you're not going through 5 of them unless you have some friends that want to help you smoke them that really like some big cigars. So I would say definitely try one of these. Not that the flavor profile is a try one, but I would say given the size and just the whole smoking experience, it's a try one. If you're going for the 184, the 184 is box worthy. So definitely try this RC series, which doesn't get a heck of a lot of press out there. So I thought I'd kind of remind everyone that these are really cool cigars to try. Have you guys had the 184 or the 233?
Yeah, I'm more on the 184, and I think you hit it spot on with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't, but it's interesting you say that with sort of smoking the Robusto size, and it sort of peters out.
Yeah.
I get that with some Churchills sometimes too. Sort of the blend doesn't carry the whole cigar. You kind of have about a Robusto or a half Corona size left, and it sort of doesn't really do anything anymore.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about that with Stogies Center quite a bit. With Churchills and double Coronas tend to do that. Although I will say Nat Sherman's Joel Sherman, which is a Churchill, is one that doesn't do that. It holds right to the end, which is why I think that's a special cigar.
Yeah, I got to hunt that one down.
You do.
Absolutely. Will, back to you.
Okay. Speaking of Opus X, I smoked, and I didn't expect to have this on my Cigar of the Week list. I kind of had an unexpected thing happen, but I actually smoked this when we were recording Cigar Jukebox with Dave. It was the Opus X. It's the Perfection X. So it's that 6 1/4 by 48, and it's in the 1992 Rare Estate Reserve tin. So it comes in a package of 3 in there. And I mentioned this on Cigar Jukebox, but I'll kind of mention it here. This was gifted to me. I didn't expect this to get gifted to me, but it was gifted to me by a young man named Alex, who was going to marry my daughter. And he came to talk to me.
Congratulations, Coop. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. So he came to me kind of get my blessing, which was really, I really respected him for that. He's a fine young man.
And I told Will to go easy on him, too, because I had to do this when I was going to marry my wife. And I'm like, dude, I was nervous. I speak in front of people all the time, like 300 to 500 people sometimes. And that was way more nerve-wracking, and I was way more nervous than any time I've ever spoke publicly. So I'm like, dude, go easy on him. But he made your job easy, dude. I mean, he gave you cigars.
Yeah, well, I took him into the garage where the studio is here. It's kind of like my office. And
where Will keeps all of his guns, too.
Well, yeah. Well, men baseball bats.
Yeah.
But there's a heating unit in here, and I wanted to make sure it was warm. So I cranked the heat up on it. That was the only thing I did.
You wanted to see him sweat.
Yeah, and we actually that idea was just because when we have new hires and we make them present, we in the past have done that.
Nice, nice.
But so he handed me that tin, which was very nice of him, and I did smoke one of them, and it's a fantastic smoke. It's everything you want out of the Opus X. It has that sweet natural tobacco, toasted nuts, some spices, a little coffee note in there. Great. You get a little. There's a cedar wrapper, so you definitely get cedar wrap around it. So you definitely get some of that cedar in there. Definitely could use a little more age, I think, too, because I think it could get better. I smoked that pretty much right out of it, and I still have this box-worthy cigar. And I don't smoke enough Opus X. I was really glad, and I did give him permission to marry my daughter.
That's good.
So,
See, Opus X is the key. Opus X is the key.
He's a Stogie Geeks listener, it appears.
He listened to the show, which was, I mean, that scored brownie points.
That helped, too.
He did it right. He did it right.
It was an excellent cigar. And actually, I was smoking this on the air with Dave, so I was jotting some notes down. But great cigar. If you get the great gift, this is a great gift to give to anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, with holidays coming on. I like the Robusto tin.
Yeah.
Those are
that's
really
what everyone's
good.
telling me. The Robusto is the one to smoke.
Yep. How are we doing on time? We need to.
I'm done with my smokes.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so let me talk about one more, and then we're gonna have to wrap this segment up. What do we want to talk about? Not that one. I'll talk about the Flor de Selva, and these are folks that we had on the show, Will.
Did you smoke the Connecticut?
I smoked the Connecticut, the number 15.
I got to hear about this.
Oh, it was really, really good. I have to say, very, it's a mild cigar with a lot of flavor. This is a Bellicoso, a large ring gauge, probably 54 ring gauge Bellicoso. Fantastic cigar. I would call this a box split in my book. Yeah, it smoked great. It had a little bit of kind of like a snug draw, almost. And I don't know if this was because it's for the European market or whatever. I find some of the European market cigars might have this snugger kind of draw to them. I was hoping for a little more opened up draw on it. But having said that, the flavors were wonderful. It was a great mild cigar. Went great in the morning with coffee. So I'm calling it a box split.
I had it as a box split too. And you might not remember this, but when they have a bunch of sizes. All the sizes are different blends. So the number 15, I should say, is different. I actually have smoked the Robusto, and every one of them, I mean, there's significant blend changes in terms of it's not just that they've changed the priming, they've actually put different leaves. So they all smoke real different. I actually wasn't as big a fan as the number 15 as the Robusto, but again, the cigar speaks for itself. I think I've been very impressed with the quality of these Flor de Silvas.
Very cool. So what do you want to do now? You want to take a break?
Take a break. Then we'll go into one more segment.
Okay. So with that, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.